It's Allie with Chair Success Services. What would change if you had more time to focus on growing your groups and creating powerful experiences for your members? Chair Success Services helps Vistage Chairs do exactly that. Stay tuned, and I'll be back with more information.
Welcome to the Chair Life podcast with Tom Cuthbert. As a CEO coach and master chair, Tom brings you the insights, strategies, and tools to help you build your chair life, where mission and purpose intersect with a balanced work life. This is the path to leading with impact while living with intention. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Tom Cuthbert.
As Peter Drucker says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. In every meeting, every day, every one-to-one for that matter, we're creating the future of our members and our community. So let's really lean in and talk today about how we can get the most out of those meeting days by preparing significant issues. Now, you can go back a few episodes and hear me talk about how we put dollar values on issues, and that certainly is important. The dollar value and making sure that the member connects the importance and significance of that issue to their company, to their Vistage membership for that matter, is a really important process. But the real core is not the dollar value. That's just simply a made-up number. The real core is the impact that it will have on their life, the lives inside others in their company, our community, and even more importantly, perhaps, the other members in the group. I like to tell members that when you hear an issue come in, high performers are going to look at that issue and say, you know, I've either had that issue or I am having that issue now, or you know what, I will have it in the future. And so when we have that mindset going into issue processing, we're getting ready to learn, whether it's our issue or another member's issue. So high-performing behavior number 10, high-performing members prepare significant issues to discuss with the group and make better decisions. Now, we do this in a lot of different ways, but the primary focus, the primary tool that I use is the issue processing form. Now, you probably have this. I'm sure it's on my Vistage all over the place. We learned it at Academy. We've been using it. But how often are you pulling it out? How often are you asking a member to walk through that and fill out a fillable PDF or just jot down some notes to prepare? And then sending that to the other members in the group, and certainly to you as the chair, is a critical step for that. Now, I keep mine handy at tomcuthbert.com/issue processing form, and members know that. We also sometimes will use the tools in my Vistage to prepare issues. But the most important thing is that members know when there is a significant issue, and they all have them, they need to spend time preparing for that. Not only preparing themselves to walk through that form and think about, okay, here are the things that we need to do. Here are the things that I need to put in place. This is what I need to communicate to my fellow members to help them understand the issue. Here's what the cost is. Here's what's done to date. All of those questions. By taking time to put that on paper, it does two big things. One, it allows the group to go deeper, really understand the issue at a deeper level, ask better questions, and give better suggestions. Secondly, it speeds up the issue process. You know, we've processed huge multi-million-dollar issues in 20, 25, 30 minutes by being prepared for that issue. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to prepare those issues, and the responsibility to prepare them is solely on the member. So what's our role in this? Well, our role is to prepare the member to prepare for the issue. And we do that in a lot of different ways. The first one is to let them know why it's so important to prepare this, to prepare the issue, to be ready for this. You know, Vistage itself, their own data says the ROI is 20 to 30% greater when we're utilizing structured issue processing. And so when we follow the process that we've learned and that Vistage has provided for us, it allows us to go deeper and really elevate the dialogue with them. In our groups, both of my CEO groups are processing over $1 billion a year in issues. Now, again, that's a made-up number, and that's really not what's most important. But what that means and what that tells me is our members have been leaning in about thinking about these issues preparing these issues and bringing meaningful and significant issues to the groups. Issues that surface in one-to-ones, I just simply jot those down. I'll always follow up with them. I'll ask for commitments on them. But I go back years with notebooks and information about these members. And of course, just working with people for so long, you really get to know them and what's going on inside their life and their company. I say that because it's important for us to not let things drop and not assume things resolved. We need to follow up with them. We need to ask probing and deep questions about where you were a year ago. This is also goal setting time of year. And so another technique that we'll use is we check in on goals. We check in on how they're doing and are they on track and off track. We put their goals on the back of the placemats. And by keeping those goals in front of them, it surfaces issues as well by allowing them to see that they are off track. Or, on the other hand, they're doing fantastic on those goals, and that's something to celebrate. Asking deep questions in the one-to-one helps prepare the member to think about that issue for the group. Now, if you're like me, you have some members that love to bring issues in and will bring them in every meeting, and others that would, do anything other than have to stand in front of a group and talk about an issue. But that's what makes an ideal member. That's what we're looking for, people that want authentic feedback and are willing to be vulnerable with others. And so it does take some coaching to do that. So when we surface an issue in a one-to-one, I'll often talk to them about how they're going to deal with that and how the group could help them with that. I'll use words like, imagine if you had 45 minutes for us to really drill in on this multi-million-dollar issue. What could change? What would be different for you? Isn't that why you're in Vistage? How do you trust those around you? It will make you a better member and a better leader. And so I really encourage them to take those issues from our one-to-one, put them on paper, and bring them into the group. The other important step in preparing a member is to let them know that emotion is normal. We can't expect our leaders who are deeply engaged in their company, really focusing on succeeding and helping, learning and growing along the way, to hide emotion. And so we need to lean in with emotion inside our groups. We need to learn to allow it. And this is something I'll talk about in future podcast episodes, how to let emotion into our groups and how to utilize it to get more out of that experience. But by preparing them in the one-to-one, you're going to let them know this is what's coming. And the group usually is going to have some experience with this. Our groups have been together for years. As your groups grow, the same things will happen. And they will learn that emotion is not about discomfort. It's about trust. And so when we lean into trust, we get better results. So a couple other best practices for you as we wrap up this part relating to bringing significant issues in. After the one-to-one, I always ask them to look for issues when they're in their accountability teams. Now, we talked about accountability teams recently, and I think that's a great way for members to connect more deeply with each other. So our groups, all of our groups, meet between meetings for an hour, hour and a half accountability session. And that could be an hour, hour and a half somewhere at a member's company or a coffee shop. It doesn't matter. It just matters that they're getting together. And when we coach our members to utilize that time to follow up on issues that we've discussed, talk about what they've learned from the speaker, but also to learn to surface issues for their fellow members is a really impactful way for us to generate new issues and get new issues brought into the group. So one-to-ones, accountability teams, and then the third, check-in. Our members generally check in online. Our key group and our CEO members use the online check-in, and I ask them to do it a day or so before the meeting so we have a chance to read through that. Now, in the check-in, of course, they're putting their score 1 to 10. Everybody wants to put a 7 or an 8. But when you really find those lower scores or find scores that are dropping below where they've been, it allows us to ask questions however you do check in inside your group. We will challenge members when they check in. And I might say to a member, Sarah, I remember last month you said this was a 7. This month it seems like it's a 6. What's changed? Is it moving in the wrong direction? What's the friction? Where are the headwinds? And oftentimes that will help surface, with the help of other member questions, an issue that we could process during the executive session. The more time members spend with us and with the other members, the better we are at reading between the lines. And we can read those check-ins. I find this especially true as it relates to health. Like, things are going okay in my health. That to me is a red flag. What is off track? What really is going on? And asking clarifying questions to try to surface the issue around what we read between lines in their check-in is another way for us to pull issues out. So one-to-ones, accountability teams, and check-ins. Certainly during the group meeting, we can find other issues, but those are the three primary times that I use to pull out issues from members. We then ask them to format it into an issue processing form, and then share that with the group ahead of the meeting, if at all possible. When they do that, my commitment to them is I will always process those issues first. Great meetings always include great issues. They may be uncomfortable. They may be deeply impactful from a business standpoint, and they certainly will be deeply impactful from a personal standpoint. Our job as a chair is to pull those issues out, get members to frame them up in the most effective way to get the deepest and most impactful feedback they can, and then create an environment of accountability so they can follow up, make progress, and move forward. High-performing members prepare significant issues.
Hey, it's Allie again. Have you ever thought there's got to be a smarter way to run my chair practice without losing focus on the people and the growth? Tom built Chair Success Services for exactly that. It gives Vistage Chairs the structure and support to focus on high payoff activities and high-performing groups. The result? You focus on growth, you deepen relationships, and you build your chair life, just like Tom has done. You don't have to do it alone. Helping you work smarter, lead stronger, and make space for what matters most is what we do. Let's talk. Visit chairsuccessservices.com to take the first step. I look forward to talking with you.
Now it's time for Tom's tips and tricks to optimize your productivity and your chair life.
As I move into my 14th year of being a Vistage chair, I've just been reflecting on how impactful this community and this opportunity has been for me personally. All I want to do is give more to the community, more to our members, and help them learn and grow and achieve more than they imagined possible. And so this year, coming into 2026, I have a theme. And our theme this year is simply, let's build something extraordinary. Now, this simple phrase, is inclusive of everyone in our entire community. We all are going to work together to build something that's not just good, not just sustainable, not just excellent, but beyond that, extraordinary. And to do that, there are three areas that I'm going to focus in very strongly with our CEO members and others in this coming year. And so for Tom's tips and tricks today, I thought I would give you a peek into what we and our community will be leaning into in 2026. These are three areas that are not optional for members to participate in. I actually have a member who has chosen not to participate in this, and through some one-to-ones is going to step out of the groups. And I'm okay with that, quite honestly. I wish them well. I certainly will remain friends with them and help and support them in any way. But what we're focusing on is not what they want to focus on. And that's okay with me, because our groups are really going to focus on building something extraordinary. And we're going to do that together. The three areas of focus for us are, number one, and probably not surprising to you, is strategic planning. Now, we've been doing strategic planning and presenting these to other members for years. But with Vistage Strategic Planning by Vistage tool, it allows us to pull all that together in a single place. It allows us to speak the same language. And even if our members are using EOS or Scale Up or other programs, that's okay. It all can come together in a single place. So all of our members will be focusing on strategic planning together. Secondly, and we've had this focus now for the last several years, is enterprise value. with the Biz Equity tool, with the help of organizations like Founders Advisors around us and their assessment, I think CEO members mostly are in Vistage to grow the enterprise value of their business. Number three is people leadership. That's always a topic for us. And I believe the next 5 to 7 years are going to be especially challenging to attract and retain top talent. So let me spend just a moment on each of these and talk about how we're going to jump in, focus on these, and wrap this up with what our expectations are. Right out of the gate on number one, I have to give kudos to Vistage. The Vistage strategic planning tool is remarkable. I have gone through it personally. I've watched the training, and thank you to all of you in the community that have contributed to that. And if you're not leaning into it with your members, I feel like you're missing out. Our companies have been building 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plans for many years and presenting those by standing in front of the group to their fellow members. Now, with the Vistage strategic planning tool, it allows us to all speak the same language to really lean into this. And so we're going to be building this, adding to tools like our strategic compass, adding to tools like our VTO and other things that many member companies are using. And we're going to put it all together in a single place. You know, this McKinsey stat is astounding. Companies with formal plans, 3 to 5 year plans, grow 30% faster. This is not something that is fantasy. This is an absolute must, regardless of the size of the company. And quite candidly, the better we are at strategic planning, the better navigation tools we will have to achieve that plan. If there is one thing that I want to do leading in for 2026 with our member community, it is to help them to achieve what they're laying out on their strategic plan. Enterprise value is the measure of success for many of our members. Over 2/3 or so of my members own the majority of their company, the CEO members. Others are deeply invested in that, and a lot of them have most of their net worth tied up in their business. As we look ahead to 2030, if ITR is correct, something will happen in the marketplace. There certainly are a lot of boomers aging out and a lot of companies for sale that are transitioning from one generation to the next. And there's a lot of economic turmoil and uncertainty. In an environment like this, the one thing that we can focus on is making your company more valuable. So in a recent episode, I talk about our binders and where I put together a Founders Advisors survey that all of our members have taken, and we put it in their binders so I could review it with them. The Founders Survey helps us identify what are the areas of weakness or opportunity inside a company as it relates to building your enterprise value. In addition to that, the Biz Equity Report is a comprehensive look in a very specific way about the metrics inside a company that are off track from others in the industry and others in your group. And so by having those two tools together, it really gives us a guide as to how to improve the enterprise value of a company. So I say that because in addition to strategic planning, our private equity market is really surging. There's a huge growth over the next several years. And so to take advantage of that, to look for transactions, for transitions, for investment, all of these things are going to be based on our success to build valuable companies. And number three, people. This is always going to be a challenge for us. We've had Chris Zarnick speak a couple of times now, and his book, Winning the War on Talent, is really impactful. His presentation got our attention because the way that we're trying to attract and retain talent today is changing, and we must adapt to that. And the headwinds that we will face with attracting talent, the impact AI will have on our business, my goodness, it's extraordinary. And so we really need to lean into this. We need for members to know that retention is key. And part of that, of course, is putting more people in our Vistage community. So when we focus on that and when we keep that top of mind, we'll be able to really focus on helping equip our CEO members to retain the talent that they have, attract talent in the future, and navigate the shifting winds in the future going forward. PwC says that 60% of CEOs are forecasting growth over the next 12 months. Now, I am no economic expert, but I'm looking at the economy today in mid-November 2025, and I guess this will be on the record. I think 2026 is going to have a great uptick. We're going to have economic tailwinds. We're going to have a lot of opportunity. And so we need to lean in together. We need to seize this opportunity together by solid strategic plans, focusing on building companies that have enterprise value at the forefront of our execution and our strategy, and in a measured way with top talent that we are both retaining, training, and motivating to exceed beyond what we imagined possible. So that's my focus for 2026. Let's build something extraordinary.
To join us on this journey, visit www.tomcuthbert.com/extraordinary.
Thanks for listening to the Chair Life podcast. Remember, you can find more resources at tomcuthbert.com. Please let others know about our podcast by sending them to chairlifepodcast.com. See you next time on the Chair Life podcast.